We'll do both of these on here, okay? If my cat's tail isn't too obnoxious, let's do that over here. It's going to be a little obnoxious. Okay. You know you're doing that on purpose. Okay, so let's draw a rectangle. And we're going to turn the rectangle. A rectangle will turn into a cylinder. So we're going to start with, stop it, a rectangle, which is 2 straight lines. Stop. I'm drawing on your tail. Stop it. Cat, you have to move. I can't move the camera. Can you move your butt? There you go. Oh, you got hair on my, oh, you're a stinker. Don't do that. He sat on my razor. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Mr. Matt. Welcome to Everybody Arts. Today we're going to be talking about shadows and shading. We're going to be doing 4 different kinds of shading. We're going to be doing hatching, cross-hatching, smooth shading, and stippling. And I'll show you how to do all 4 of those. And I'll show you how to do the shadows too, where you take a light source and you figure out where that light source is, and I'll show you the different parts of the shadow. I'm only going to show you the basics of the shadows for now, because I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want to give you the basics for now so that you can get started. And I'll tell you where I learned a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching you today. I went online and looked up somebody, and their name is Don Corgi. I'm going to put a link to Don Corgi's tutorial about shading and shadows in the description below. That website's fantastic. It's simple explanations for difficult and involved things. So it was really helpful to me, and hopefully if you want to learn more about shadows and shading and things like that, then it'll be helpful to you too. So shadows. What you need to know. Let's talk about light source. Light source is the most important thing, I think, when you're talking about shadows, okay? So I'm going to put a big old sun right there, okay? Which means that the light source is going to be like this. And like this. This is going to be like the light source on my ball, okay? There's a table it's sitting on, let's just say. So, you have to remember where the light source is coming from. It's kind of important when you're making shadows and when you're making highlights and things, okay? Everybody always likes to draw that nice little shiny highlight spot, you know, bink, bink. So that is right there. The brightest spot, highlight spot. It's that twinkle, quote unquote. Now, there's also a cast shadow behind the object, which would be like this, okay? It would have to be behind over here. It's going to be darker right up against the ball, okay, and it can get lighter as it goes away. When an object makes a shadow, that is a cast shadow, okay? There is going to be a shadow on the ball itself. You don't have to shade like I'm shading right now. I don't normally do it like on the side of my pencil, but just for now. So on the ball itself, that is called the core shadow, I believe. And I am going to write that down as well. Core shadow is on the object. The cast shadow is cast by the object. Cool. All right. So those are the basics of shading and shadows. For this next part, I have a template on my website that has 4 circles on it so that you don't have to worry about drawing them. You can just work on the shading and then, print out a couple of them if you want, and then you can practice like one technique if you like one better than the other 4. But definitely feel free to draw your own. You don't have to download my circle templates if you don't want. Also, I wanted to say I did all the shading except for the stippling in real time. So I just so you could follow along as I'm doing it. feel free to pause or stop or skip ahead if you finish early. It is a longer video, but again, I wanted to take my time, and I figured you guys would take time too as well. So if I get further along, pause it and work on it and at your own pace. First one we're going to do is hatching, okay? I am not an expert at this, but I'll show you how to do the different examples of hatching and cross-hatching and things like that, okay? Cross-hatching is when you do this, and then you go like this. Well, since I'm not doing the cross-hatching, I'm just doing hatching. Hatching is just making lines like this. Hey, sorry about the change in voiceover. When I'm drawing, I'm trying to talk to you and draw at the same time, and I don't always get my point across. This is kind of important, so I wanted to make sure that I explained it correctly. But when we're talking about hatching, the things that are important to remember are that pressure when you're with the pencil is important, because you don't want to draw heavy lines. And spacing between the lines is important too. The more space you have between the lines and the lighter the pressure, the lighter it's going to look. And so I'm going to make a lot of light lines with a little bit more gaps in between them. And then in just a second, you'll notice that towards the back, I'll start using a heavier pressure with the pencil, and I'll start drawing my lines closer together. And that's going to make it look darker. Also, I want you to remember this too. We're remembering all of these are going to have a light source up here, shining down towards them. Okay, so we're going to remember all of the things that I had on this with cast shadows, core shadows, highlights, and the light source, okay? So that's what I'm going to do on all of these. So let's just do some hatching. Towards the back, I'm going to use a heavier line and closer together to make it look darker. Okay, that's all I'm doing. All parallel lines all together. Okay, you can draw a little, that one highlight. Usually this is from a light source. On a smooth surface, like a dull surface, you're going to have like one highlight. On a very reflective surface, you might have a lot, and plus you're going to have like every single light in the room is going to have a highlight and be very reflective. So unless you're drawing from a picture, you might have multiple highlights, but for our purpose right now, we're just going to have one. So yeah, you can't really just say, oh, it's only going to have one highlight. It really depends on what you're drawing. Now let's do the cast shadow, which would be here. This is hatching again, remember. Kind of messed up on the bottom there, but that's... I am not perfect, so... That's a poor example of a cast shadow, but yeah, let's make that a little smaller. It doesn't need to be so big. I think that's a better shadow, just small like that, small and round, kind of. Yeah, let's do it like that. Make the lines kind of close, and then further away over here, you can just have a couple over here. Okay, that's good. So that's hatching. We'll do cross hatching. Gonna do it light like I did before. You can make it a little heavier there too. So now cross hatching, now I have to go back and I have to go across them. I have to go this direction. So here you can see I'm going across them, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the hatching, where the more pressure you put on the pencil, the darker the lines are going to be, and the closer together the lines are, the darker it's going to look. And so you want to put the lines closer together towards where you want the darker shadow. And you can see, like, towards the back, I'm going to have more lines together and heavier lines. And towards the front, I'm going to have less lines crossing each other even, and lighter lines crossing each other. Trying to make it darker back here and give you more of a probably do a little bit out here. I think that looks pretty good. Now, again, like a there you go. If you want to draw a little highlight on there, you can. I don't even have to. I see I did a little, I'll draw it like here. Let me, it was better when it was very light. I'm going to go like this. I'm not going to complete the highlight on it. I don't want to. I think it looks better when it's not closed up. Just, that's my personal preference on that one. So that's cross hatching. You can see the difference between hatching and cross hatching. The next one is going to be smooth shading. Smooth shading is a little more difficult because it really is dependent on how much pressure you have on your pencil. And again, I'll do my best. We'll see how it looks when it's done. So some people go like this and use the side of their pencil. That's what I was doing over here. I was going like this. You can do it like that if you want. Use the side of your pencil. I'm going to try to do it like this and use just the edge of my pencil and use varying pressure. That's how I'm going to do it today. But you can use it however you want. Other people will draw very heavy and then smudge with their finger. That's cool too, but it's very messy. So however you feel like you want to do it is fine. I'm going to start with the heavier in the back and work my way out from there. But as long as you try to keep the same pressure and don't this might take a little while, as you know. Should always, like, if you're going to use your pencil like this, it should always be, you should always be going in the same direction. Don't change directions. because it shows a lot when you change. Now I'm using a lighter. See how it's drawing darker in the back, and I'm overlapping the strokes that I just did. I'm still drawing dark, but I'm not drawing as dark, and I'll go between the two that I just did now. I'll go a little bit darker so I can kind of blend the two. Now I'm going to go a little bit lighter still. You can hear me drawing lighter. You don't want to be able to notice too many of the changes on the picture. I can see mine pretty well, but again, this is not something that I practice very often. I do a lot of my drawing electronically, but that's the gist of it. And then since I shaded it all the way up, I can most definitely put a highlight like right there. Not like right in the middle of it, but close. And then I'm going to put, oops, the cast shadow. Okay, and then what's the last one? Stippling. Stippling. Let's do stippling. Stipple. But stippling is basically just making dots. You want to be sure if you're using like a fine tip marker, like the kind that I am, that you're not smashing it down really hard. I'm just making gentle touches to the paper. When I set this up, I didn't realize that you wouldn't be able to see because the pen is like pointing straight down on the paper. So I had to do some awkward editing so you could see some of the progress, but I just fast forwarded through the rest of it. Stippling is one of those shading techniques. It takes a little bit of time, but it looks like you spent a lot of time working on it. And I think it pays off in the end because it's really nice. If you look, you know, the closer the dots are together, the darker it looks, and the farther away the dots are, the lighter the pattern looks. So as you can see at the back of the ball, it's obviously darker, and then closer towards the middle and towards where the highlight is, it's going to be lighter. That's where I put the least amount of dots. A lot of artists use this type of technique. One of the artists that I really admire, his name is Moebius. His real name is Jean Gros. I'll have to spell that out because it's French and I'm probably butchering it. He's a really cool artist, and he uses different techniques, not just stippling. He kind of blends them together, but a lot of it is stippling and has that feel. And you can tell he spends a lot of time using different shading techniques. He unfortunately passed away in 2013, I believe, but he has such an amazing body of work. You know, go ahead and go through the page that I had on my website and try to do as many of these techniques as you can and see how you can do with them. And if you're not happy with it, you know, get another page and try it again and just do your best. I'm going to leave you looking at a Moebius picture so you can see all the different techniques that he uses. And this is just one page of a comic that he did. All of it's in French, so I have no idea what it says, but it's just the coolest thing to look at. That's it for this week. I don't want to make it too long. I think we're going to continue working on shading and shadows in the next video. So I'll see you then. All right. Be good to each other and be good to yourself. Take care. Bye-bye.